Hi there, it's Polly here, and I'm in Bali, as you can clearly see. Exotic locations, yes. So I've got some really interesting games to review for you this month, and I have to say it's really exciting seeing the kind of imagination and skill that's going into making these games that people bring for us to play. There's just so much talent out there and so many good ideas. So it's a real pleasure to find the cream of some of this crop and bring them out so you guys can find stuff. Anyway, so I'm here with Mr. Snoots. And yes, welcome to the tropical islands. So I found a very cool one, Troubleshooters. Now, Troubleshooters is based largely on things like the particularly Belgian done comics of the 50s and 60s and so on, like Tintin. Adventure comics where someone is investigating bad guys, someone's out there solving those conundrums. They're not really full of violence and killing, they are full of thrills and chills and adventure. This book takes its lead from that, but also from things like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and that sort of feel. Its setting is in 1963, a damn fine year, 64, 65, somewhere around there, and they've taken a very slight historical turn, so it's not quite our world, just to stop anyone having future knowledge that, oh, this is going to go south, this is going to happen, this terrible war is going to begin. So it's the 60s, a world of some optimism at the time. World War II has come and gone. People are trying to make a better world. There is no full-on EEC yet, but there is the European community is beginning. France and Britain have gotten together and made the mighty Concorde, which means supersonic airliners will soon be linking all of our great cities, so that soon you'll be able to go, in only a few hours from Melbourne to London. And they've said, and the slight turning point in this one is that there was a Japanese-French combined atomic rocket which landed on the moon last year in the setting. So that's your clue that it's somewhat different. But there also can be sinister organizations here going for world domination, because that's what sinister organizations do. So as you can see by the tin can citra on the front, they've really kept that kind of 60s limited equipment fun, not about the killing geist for the whole game. So first off, characters and so on. You are making characters kind of appropriate to this sort of setting. You're designing from archetypes, but you can design your own. And it's full of things like the meddling investigator, the reporter. You could be you could be a racing car driver. You could be a professional sports person. You could be a meddling school kid. You could be a diplomat. You could be a secret agent. You could be, a failed drunken politician. Whatever. You design these characters with skills. The skills are thorough, but they're fairly general. So there's like close combat skill, which is fisticuffs or whatever, range skills, driving skills, etc., etc. Now you also get abilities that you purchase. These are often a special bonus under certain conditions, and some of those can narrow those skills down. If I'm an amazing fencer, then when I'm using my close combat skill involved with swords in a way I can let my skill shine, then I'll get bonuses to using the sword. Or they might have you down as you are very persuasive, or you might have a talent for driving a particular sort of vehicle. You might be, a pilot, so your vehicle skill, I can now actually commercially fly and not be arrested for it. I know how to file flight plans and all that other cool stuff. These build, so they are done in tiers. There are like tier 0 ones that you don't really require that many basic skill levels to have. There are other abilities that you have to have set levels of skill in set things to actually gain. So if you wanted to say, I am a judo master, okay, well you have to have set levels of acrobatics and set levels of close combat in order to qualify for it. And then it will tell you in close combat you can attempt to use this ability once in a scene, and that will turn a hit that you do into putting someone into a lock or knocking them out. Now, you also get plot hooks as part of the characters. You design plot hooks, and they might be know someone at the embassy, used to serve in such and such and so and so an army. You might be a minion of one of the bad guy organizations, and you've given it up. So, you know, there are many different little plot hooks, and they've got dozens and dozens and dozens of suggestions. But you, through all this, you can tell your own story and make your own things. The plot hooks are kind of useful for scenarios, because as scenarios happen, the umpire will have a scenario, but they'll pick the plot hooks of some characters to bring them personally in. So the idea is to kind of personally involve you with someone that you know staggers down the street with a bullet wound and collapses and presses some blueprints into your hand and says, you know, you've got to deliver these to the agency. Or you're a racing car driver. Yeah, that guy that was your nemesis out there on the track, you know, just died in an ordinary car accident yesterday. But when you go to pay your respects, you know, it's like his mechanic meets you and says, no, the guy's brakes were cut through. So that's your personal involvement in the story, and that's how you bring other people in. Now, the system itself is really, it's a D100 system, but it's actually one of the first real innovations I've seen in D100 for a long time. It's really well done. So, here it is. So, it's a percentile system, and your skills, in the usual way, give you a percentage chance of you successfully using the skill. So, if I have a 70% of the skill, I roll 1 dice as 10s, 1 as units, I roll them together. If the score is equal to or less than my skill, I have succeeded. But difficulty and sort of advantage in this goes by shifts. So the number of shifts that you've got, positive or negative, add up to a number. Now, when you roll the dice, if you are like, I have a 70 shooting skill, but I've got 4 or 5 shifts because this is a difficult shot. You know, I get -2 because it's nighttime, and he's at long range, which is a -2 again, so it's a 4. All right. But I have a super duper scope that gives me a +2. You know, you count them up and forth. If you've got a positive advantage number, when you roll the dice, no matter what the score is, if the units, the ones dice, rolls between 1 and the number of shifts you've got positively, it's a success no matter what it rolls. So if I've got 70% skill and I roll a 91, but I've got 2 shifts left over from that previous calculation, well, the 1 is within that 2 shift span, so even though I rolled a 91, it's still a success. But likewise, if it's a negative thing, same thing happens in reverse. So it's a really interesting and easy way of handling that, instead of counting pluses and minuses. And it does make things like nighttime, firing from a moving vehicle, you know, leaping that ridiculous distance and so on, I think gives them a more consistent negative. I think it's much more realistic than just taking a percentage, because the percentage reduction doesn't really, you know, punish or advantage skills, you know, consistently. So if you roll doubles, the 10s and the units dice are the same, it's karma. If you did it and the skill is a success, it's positive karma. That means you can effectively get a critical use of the skill right now, or you can save it and you can get a bonus on a follow-up from the use of this skill. So if I've investigated and got positive karma, right, I can then get some extra clues. And this guy's driven off from the scene, well, you can follow him without being seen because you've got good karma from your investigation. Negative karma the same. If you were trying something and failed, now there's a complication. Either there's a complication to what you've just done, I'm investigating and I roll a double 1, or, you know, double 0 probably, and there's a complication. Well, maybe I've tripped the secret alarm. Maybe I've been caught on a closed circuit television, because of course this is 1964 and we don't really have much of those security cameras. Maybe I've been seen coming out of the building. That sort of thing. Or it stays as a negative to the next roll that you make, kind of following on from your current one. All right, well, I leave the building and now I'm going to follow this guy. All right, you're seen because there were negative connotations. So a really nice system. Now, as you use skills, you get ticks against them. These ticks are used to do experience at the end of an adventure, so your character can improve. You can also save ticks and so on, and you can, as you get aggregate numbers of ticks, you can cash those in to try and get more advantages for your character and extra skills. So character improvement, definitely a thing and definitely encouraged. And look, the other thing I adore about this is that they've taken the artwork like really off that Belgic style. If you think of Asterix, if you think of Tintin, Yoko Tsuno, there is a very specific Belgic cartooning style. It's very curvy. It's very light and free. Physical things like machinery are usually drawn really well. People are caricatured in a particular way. It's a Swedish artist doing a cool version of that kind of Belgian style, and it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of work. There's lots of cool post-adventure stuff, so you can like develop your characters, develop your stories, stuff for like mad inventors, so that if they've got long project skill rules, but say you've got a character that's a mad inventor, because this is based on that, James Bondy, Tintin-y kind of genre where, yeah, you can make your atomic rockets go to the moon or whatever. Maybe you won't, that's got some money. But you figure out the difficulties, there's pages here, and how long it will take. So you might have found that the evildoers have like a anti-gravity flying disc thing, as per Johnny Quest, which is another thing that they've drawn their inspiration from. Right, I'm going to try and use some of that technology. I'm going to add that to my Vespa. I want a flying Vespa. Okay, well, your character's pretty poor, but and so you work out your actual difficulties and the number of different roles you have to make all in there. So like, right, there's going to be a 6-month project at minimum, depending on whether you make these rolls, but this is a long thing you can work on, and between the adventures and downtime you roll to see how the long-term projects have gone. Really nice to see it, and the more difficult and kind of ludicrous the project is, obviously the more difficult it is to roll, but you might get there eventually. So it's beautiful. This is really well done. There's a lot of background material on what the fab world of the early to mid 60s is, and like I said, it's not quite our world, so it's very kind of Yellow Submarine, swinging 60s Tintin. There's a lovely deck of equipment cards that comes with this, and it gives you like the little bonuses that each of these pieces of equipment can give you. It's great to see, instead of like atomic cannon of death, butcher blood, hack maim archery. No, this is all things like, you've got a compact car, here's a Fiat or a Mini Minor, here's a Vespa scooter, here's like a Lotus or a Lamborghini or an E-Type Jaguar, or cool period car. This is what they get you under certain circumstances. The compact is really good for basically chase and avoidance and so on. In city limits, you're out on the main highways, well, the sports car is probably going to be the thing. If you're trying to get somewhere fast or evade someone in the streets of Paris, the Vespa was probably your choice. Combat, I really like it. So you've got a thing called Vitality, which is worked out, comes from strength and various other things. As you take damage, you take Vitality as a loss. Now, this game is not lethal. You don't die. Unless, pretty much, you push it. Your choice, not the game's. The whole setting is not something of people like being stabbed and shot and sniped and died. When you hit 0 in Vitality, you're out of the scene. You've dropped unconscious. Even if it's something like a sniper firing at you, yes, the bullet creases your skull and you drop unconscious. You're out of the scene, and the next one has to begin with you dealing with the fact that you are now wounded. That is the category that you've taken as you drop out of the scene. So your guy now has bandages on their head. They get, negatives. What you can, however, do is you can say, I am declaring mortal peril, because you really want to fight your way through this scene because you're a power player and whatever. Well, you can do that, and you get a big bonus to all of your dice rolls, but 0 Vitality kills you now. Your choice. You chose it. You stepped out of the contracted bounds. Now, You get story points which can be used and trashed in for extra rolls and bonuses on your rolls. You gain those for entertaining role playing, you gain those for good karma rolls, you gain those for ticking off key points in the adventure. You also gain them for bad things. The death thing works not just against you, it protects the bad guys as well. If you kill people, everyone loses story points. If you deliberately kill someone, then the person that does it, the player, the character, loses all of their story points. Everyone else around the table loses half of their story points as well, because they didn't act to stop you from doing that kind of role playing, because that's not what the game's about. So you can decide, I'm going to this guy's unconscious, well, I'm going to stab him in the head and move forward. Great. You've stepped way outside of the genre story bounds. You can do it, but now you can't use the kind of non-gritty mechanics which allow you to do the fabulous and amazing and quirky things, because you're not in that genre anymore. You decide to change to Rambo. Sorry, this is where people get shot and killed, not where we get the lucky escape, or, the truck that we hide in the back of is the one that actually takes us inside the secret base. Being captured by the bad guys, by the way, is a major source of story points. You get about 9 story points if you're captured by the baddies. So again, getting into some sort of violent situation and being knocked out and then captured by the baddies is actually good for the story. It'll rage it forward. So look, this is a fantastic little game. There is this beautiful hardcover adventure, the U-Boat Mystery, which again, you can see that art style, that lovely curvy Belgique kind of style. And this is set, and one reason why I'm reviewing it here, this is basically set in Bali, except there's a lost U-boat, and it's obviously got secrets of crazy Nazi technology on it, etc, 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 so you've got to go and find it. And again, these are gorgeously illustrated. The production quality is fantastic for everything, and it's just amazing. I mean, this is one hell of a game. So look, Troubleshooters, an investigative story game, action and adventure, judo fights and creeping into the enemy bases and the secret octopus organization attempting to take over the world. This time they're doing something to try and, shoot down satellites. Next time they're going to try some kind of mind control gas to take over world leaders. Only you, are the ones that stumble across this and save the day. Light-hearted but deeply engaging. Mechanics are in a familiar form, but with some really interesting ownership that's made the system very much their own. Very, very, very innovative. Well done. The art style brings it to life. Their description of their view of the 60s world and what this has been really brings this to life. I think this is a cracker of a game. It's an unseen gem. It's been there hiding up there on the Modophius website for an age. You don't really hear anyone talking about it. Troubleshooters. If you like investigative kind of games, and it's for you, but you can put that kind of with anything you want. Man from U.N.C.L.E., James Bond, Scooby-Doo, Tintin, Yoko Tsuno, all those sorts of things. It's all there. Draw your joy, draw your inspirations. This one is well worth getting hold of. It's a really hidden little bright gem. So I'm very glad to have found it, so I can bring it to you. Anyway, Schnoots and I will continue exploring. Yay! And we've got some more cool things for you, so stay tuned. Thank you to all my patrons. You keep the channel going. I keep managing to luck out and get to really strange places. Frankly, it's because I live in Perth and these sorts of places are astoundingly easy to get to. Welcome to the world, everyone. Cheers. Hope to see you around the gaming table soon. Bye.